time for the Lowco Sports Lowdown. Here are your hosts, Justin Jarrett, Wes Kerr, and Max Arraj.
Hey, the gang's all here, and welcome to the show that never ends, the Lowco Sports Lowdown, with a little bit of Lowco Pigskin Preview mixed in for good measure tonight, because we do have breaking news, so to speak. It broke a good little while ago, but it is now all the way broken. We got 4 games that are moving to Thursday. I made a lot of texts today saying, y'all playing on Friday? And most of them, Marcus Walsh checking in from the comments. I believe he's out to dinner and he's still listening to the Lowco Sports Lowdown. What dedication. Hope he's got the earbuds in. But no, I got a lot of texts back saying, yeah, why are you asking? Why are people asking me that? And I was like, I mean, it's a fair question. I think a lot of people looked at the forecast like 4 days out from game day and panicked a little bit. And of course, those of us who've been in South Carolina for a while know that the forecast on Tuesday is very rarely the forecast on Thursday. And now the forecast doesn't look so bad Friday. So, I mean, I always say I'm glad I'm not the one making these kinds of decisions, but I would have played on Friday, I think, just because it didn't ever look like there was any severe weather or dangerous weather.
We kind of get 2 game days in one now. We get
works great for us.
It does, because we can cover more games now, which is really great.
And
it works great for us.
And they're good games tomorrow. They're not just
they're really good games. Yeah.
Really
it's so let's go through that real quick, and in case you haven't seen the news on social media and stuff like that. The 4 games that'll be played a day early on Thursday, it'll be Brooklyn Casey at May River, Hilton Head High at Hardyville, Hilton Head Prep at Bethesda Academy, and Woodland at Whale Branch. Those will all kick at 7 p.m. And again, I'm not throwing shade at anybody who made the decision to move it. It's just one of those hindsight's 2020 things where you're like, well, you probably could have waited another day. But there's a lot of moving parts to that. You got to get officials lined up for Thursday instead of Friday. And, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that goes into that. So the earlier you can make that decision, the better. If it's a possibility to move to Thursday and the forecast looks clear there, yeah, I see why you go for it. As I said to somebody on social media who asked, why are they moving games? I think there's several considerations. And the first one would be any safety concerns. I don't think there's any safety concern really from the rain itself. It didn't look like there was lightning in the forecast, but there's always a chance for lightning when you got rain, and that is definitely a safety concern. The second would be field conditions, which can become a safety concern. But most of these schools are playing on turf, so that's not really a factor in this case. And then the other would be considerations for the spectators.
Right.
I mean, your spectators don't like, even though the ones who would come out in the rain, you don't want to make your diehards go sit out in the rain. You'd rather play it under great conditions and have the food trucks out and all that stuff. But so I get it. I understand it certainly. And there will be criticism regardless, whatever you do. If you don't move it to Thursday and it's a deluge on Friday, they'll be like, why didn't you move to Thursday like these other people? And if it doesn't rain on Friday, they'll be like, why does idiots move to Thursday? But there's no right or wrong answers when you're dealing with the future.
I will say that when you have this situation where, okay, there's a chance of rain on Friday, let's move it. I mean, it's a safe call, but at the same time, it's Hilton Head, it's the Low Country. Things can change, and you just never know. But
it's going to be funny if it rains Thursday and not Friday. But that
would be humorous.
But you're right; it does give us a heck of a slate on Thursday night. It works great for our purposes because it's like we get to cover 8 games instead of 4, right? Like we get to double up, and everybody gets to see a bunch of teams this week. So super cool. I also understand it from a travel perspective. That's the other thing that I would mention that goes in with the safety element is long bus ride, potential storms, flooding, those kinds of things. Then you do bring a student athlete safety element into it. And so like Brooklyn Casey coming down from May River, like I kind of get it why they went ahead and made that call early on. The Woodland Whale Branch one is a little bit head scratcher, but it is what it is. I'm sure they had their reasons, right? Bethesda, that field, that floods easily, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And kind of the same at Hardyville. Our field is it's not the greatest. It's already approved for a renovation and upgrade. So,
and you also have to
and we
kind
play
of think about
soccer on it in the spring too. We
Yeah.
don't want to tear it all up,
But
So
you also have to think about the opponent's perspective and where they're coming from and how.
right, exactly. Yeah, it's not as big as deal on the short trips, but the longer trips, it definitely makes sense. So that's all just to say that, like, yeah, sure, you might think it's silly, but they have their reasons. And we love it because we get Thursday night football for all pretty decent matchups. I mean, I think Hilton Head would be a pretty heavy favorite over Hardyville based on the last couple of weeks, but
the other three are
you know,
great.
the other three are really solid matchups. We'll get into them a little deeper a little bit later on. I don't have a lot of other news to share, but Wes, you do. You had a big event today over at USCB on the call for Sand Shark Soccer. Tell us how it went.
Another very solid win at home against Emmanuel at Finland Field today, and a terrific atmosphere. Love the way that Dan Huff is coaching this team. We're seeing not just the star power of this team, those top players, but the freshmen are contributing. Some of the transfers are contributing, and obviously the games will get tougher. It's early in the season, but I like what I'm seeing. I'm really impressed by what Coach Huff is doing very early on, and this team is really gelling together. And obviously, Savannah Page is an absolute standout. We saw her the last few years. She is just an incredible finisher, close to the goal. Had that first goal of the game. I mean, just read the play perfectly and was right there to put it in. Fantastic instincts. And, I'll tell you what, this was an interesting game because the Emmanuel goalkeeper was making every single save after save. There was one that hit the post, and there's feeling like, if Emmanuel can get a counterattack and put one in, it's a completely different game.
Right.
But USCB kind of, reset. They kind of withstood an early rally in the first 5 or 10 minutes of the second half by Emmanuel, and they got a favorable set piece and got a good bounce on an own goal. And it's 2-0, and that pretty much did it in terms of the competitive nature. I mean,
that was pretty much what done it.
Yeah. But, statistically, if you look at the analytics, they dominated that game in possession, overwhelmingly USCB. They had 20 corner kicks in one game.
Wow.
Including, I believe, like 13 or 15 in the first
29 shots, 22 on goal. Goodness.
But, yeah, if you look at the metrics and the advanced analytics, they probably should have scored like 5 or 6 or maybe 7 goals. They only got 3 because of how good that goalie was playing.
20 saves. That's unreal.
Yeah.
That is unreal. Oh, sorry. I thought I had been sharing. I thought I had been sharing the box score that whole time because that's what I was looking at, but it opened in a new window. But yeah, unbelievable domination there. So yeah, I was really impressed with Coach Huff and the players the other night. Just the vibes, for lack of a better term. It just seemed like they are in a really positive place and everybody pulling in the same direction. And it seems like it has a chance to be pretty special over there this year. And obviously they have good vibes at home. They can't lose at Finland.
Yeah.
That's 12 in a row. 12 in a row. That dates back to the end of the 2022 season. And the next home game on September 28th will be against the last team that beat them at home in North Georgia. So the script is already written for what should be a fantastic game. Now, that's not until the 28th. They have a road trip. They go to Lynn, they go to Palm Beach, Atlantic, and then they start Peach Belt play at Georgia Southwestern. But circle the calendar for September 28th on that Saturday against North Georgia. I have a feeling that's going to be one heck of a match.
Got it, circles. North Georgia. North Georgia's good at everything, as we've found out very quickly. I still think they're not long for D2. They look like they're building up for D1 facilities up there. I mean, it's the Georgia equivalent of the Citadel, and I just see that as them wanting to be on the same level, right? Feels like it.
Yeah.
But
no, for sure.
I think they're not long for D2. They got some serious programs, so yeah, that'll be
that Georgia Southern football team when they made the leap to the FBS division. I mean, it's a different kind of perspective because that was football, but like No, North Georgia seems like they've been right there across the board, especially basketball.
Yeah, I think their facilities are top notch, like really impressive. So I think they're not long for it. But I wonder if football's on the horizon there. That would probably facilitate
that'll be the next
the jump.
right. Especially if they do jump up, then they'll need a football program, you'd think.
Right. Yeah, I would think so. I would think that would be on the docket. Everybody wants football nowadays, right?
By the way, Dan Huff, what a great guy. I mean, he came up to me at the end of the game. Always wants to talk to me. That's just. I mean, he's a great coach and just works really well for players. But man, just a great dude off the field as well. I mean, he's awesome, and he fits the mentality of this program, and he has these kids bought in. And I'm really impressed from what I'm seeing. I think. Obviously, you lose a player like Murray Calvatin. I still think this team is as good. And that's no disrespect for Calvatin, who's like probably the best player of all time of that program. I'm just saying that collectively, they have a team that just has more. Some of its parts are bigger in terms of the depth. And I think collectively, they're a very good team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you go into it with the mentality, and good coaches always say this, when you graduate like a generational player or whatever, like Max just gremlined out. When you lose like a generational player or something like that, coaches will always say like, no one person can replace this person. And when the team buys into that and like they really like feel like everybody has to pick up that slack, then it can result in a net gain, because 3 people get so much better that the net gain is so much that it overcomes the loss. So it feels like they're building a program, like I like the move to stay inside with Dan Huff. They had a really good culture built there. Everybody was, it's not always the case that everybody's sad when a coach leaves. There's a lot of times where it's like, it was time. And it felt like everybody was like kind of broken up about it, like, including Jay. He's like keeping tabs on him all the time and stuff. I think it was a great move to stay inside there and not open that up right away to a national search and let him kind of take that culture and mold it into his own. And it seems to be paying dividends. So I hope it continues for them. And I intend to catch one of your games on the air one of these days so I can hear the dulcet tones. But I'm in school at 1:00, man. It's hard.
Right. Well, next one's on a Saturday. Next one, the 28th, will be a Saturday afternoon.
All right. We'll definitely try to catch that one. Have not shouted out our all-star sponsor yet and presenting sponsor of the Lowco Sports Lowdown, but that's Mickelson Law Firm. They've been with us since the beginning, the OGs. 2017, they signed on as Lowco Sports sponsor, and they've been with us ever since. They have all kinds of legal services at your hands in downtown Bluffton, but they're our official real estate closing attorney and the presenting sponsor of our Hilton Head Christian Academy coverage. They're our all-star sponsor, Mickelson Law Firm. Call on them for all your legal needs. We love the Mickle Squad. That's our all-star sponsor, presenting sponsor. Boys, any other things that we should get to before we get to the football? I've got a couple of items. Had a golf match yesterday at Cat Island. We took last night off. You guys were busy, and I didn't have the energy to fly solo. I fell asleep on the couch watching the programming that everybody dreadfully watched last night. Excuse me. Hilton Head High won the little match at Cat Island. They beat Bluffton and Beaufort handily. Not handily. They beat Beaufort by 5 shots, 197 to 202. It was not the A squad for Hilton Head. Maya Singh, who normally plays the 5, was the low medalist with a 42. Made her first ever hole in one. So congratulations to Maya Singh. And that's great. If they can develop that 5 to shoot numbers like that, they're going to be a great danger to many people, including maybe the May River Sharks. So little golf match there. And then we talked about JP2 tennis and the hot streak there on last night. JP2 cross country had a race at Habersham with St. Peter's hosting.
Difficult course out there.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there, though.
It is really beautiful. I've run that course a couple times. That's the one I'm thinking of out there.
Ayla Reynolds won the girls' race with the 1953. Abby Brock was third with 21:19. Sebastian Frickel won the boys with 16:55. Blake Hubick was second, just 16 seconds behind him. Then Braden Frickel, James Hook in fourth, and Matthew Janacek, my neighborhood kid, in sixth. So they took 5 out of the top 6. Boys were first overall. Girls got second. I don't know to whom. So that's what I know.
Yeah.
That's what I know about the cross country.
Yeah.
You boys know
Excited
anything?
for that to get going.
I know what else I know. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was saying that I'm ready for cross country to really get livened up a little bit more, because this is a time of the year where
this weekend, and
Yeah,
I'll be out
a
of
lot of
town for baseball this
Yeah.
weekend, but there's a big one out on the Hardyville campus,
Ooh,
on our
nice.
favorite course out there. Larry
Oh, yeah.
Kimball's involved in some way. It's called the Pink House Invitational, and it's going to be a pretty big
Nice.
race with a lot of the local teams. So if you're looking for something to do Saturday morning,
Very nice.
we'll track down some deets on that. I know Woody Melton, our buddy Woody Melton, hit me up. Maybe we'll get him on the show.
Yeah,
Talk
it's good.
about it. Let's see. Woody said, here we go. The Bluffton High is hosting it. It's called the Pink House Invitational. It's Saturday. It's named after Dana House, who's making this her last season, which I was not aware of that. Both the girls and boys teams have a good shot at winning some hardware in the state meet late in November, he says. They'll be hosted in Hardyville, where we always race. They would love for us to get some coverage. Races begin at 8:15. 8:30 technically. Varsity boys 8:30. Varsity girls at 9. JV boys 9:30. JV girls 10. Awards 10:45. Expecting teams from Savannah, Augusta, Bluffton, Beaufort, Hilton Head, Hampton, Charleston, and Greenville. Expect to have close to 400 total runners.
Ooh, nice.
So
Good turnout.
we're gonna have a heck of a race out there.
Oh, you're right.
Would love to.
I didn't know.
Tim Alonso will probably be there.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Woody is a good dude.
I didn't know. It was,
he's still at Bluffton. He's just coaching cross country now. I didn't realize it was Coach House's last season either, but she is a legend.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
She coached that cross country team to a couple of state championships. They were really a powerhouse in the late 2000s. A number of those kids, especially the boys, went on and ran at USCB. Nick Tones left USCB and ran at Clemson. All of those cross country kids have been tremendously successful people and are great young people. Tommy Reeves is a lawyer, in town at one of the big firms at Vox, Marsher and Berglund. So it's just really cool to see the success those kids have had, and Dana has been incredible. She went away for a short time and came back and jumped right back in, and I see her out there running on the parkway with the kids still. She's awesome, just an awesome person and a terrific coach.
Yeah, I've gotten to meet her in person during my time as a cross-country runner when I was in high school, for Hilton Head Christian Academy. And we went up against her teams, and it was always a challenge because we knew she was bringing out the best of the best in those runners, that she taught and coached. And it was always, exciting to talk with her and ask her, how to improve, how to get better, So she is one of the best coaches, cross-country coaches here in the local area, and there's quite a few really good cross-country coaches, which is, for being an area that's mostly flat land, we have had some really successful cross-country programs, and it's really fun to see.
Hilton Head had a tremendous run under the late great Bill Wrightson. As well.
Bill Wrightson.
I
guarantee you Dana House would tell you that Bill Wrightson taught her more about cross-country than anyone, because she was always on his hip early in her career. I guarantee you that he passed on a lot of knowledge to her. He was so great.
Hilton Head programs in late 2000s, early 2010s, they were cleaning up. They were bringing home a lot of hardware. But
Max Mayo was a big part of that as well.
Yep, I was coached by him as well. Yep.
He was kind of the mechanical guy, and Wrightson was sort of the big picture guy.
Mayo did most of our coaching Wrightson
Yeah.
was just the kind of the guy oversaw and kind of was
Yeah, he's
motivated.
steering the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was the best at that. This is a great question from our friend Cuphead TV in Jersey. We got to figure out who Cuphead's people, what
Oh,
Cuphead
that's a
is
great
into us. But
question.
your top athlete of the last 20 years come out of this area. Do we have a
Ooh.
unanimous pick? Man,
That's a tough
wow.
one.
So I've been here
Ooh.
almost exactly 20 years. So this is
I've been
at
here over
least
20
easy
years
for me
now.
to delineate.
Yeah.
So the top athlete, I guess, how do you quantify that? I mean, if you talk about the most success at the highest level, then it's Ron Parker,
Right.
with the success he had with the Chiefs. I mean that would be the most success we've had at
Right.
the highest level. Yeah, I know, not of that area. It's a great question. Um, you know,
Going
in
forward.
basketball, you would have to say Nick Pringle, I think.
Yeah.
He's on the cusp of playing
It's
professionally. Yeah, well, that's a good one.
yeah.
Tim
That
Howard
is.
from
It's a
USMNT.
weird
That's a
question
really good one.
because like trying to it's like you can talk about
You
what
can
did they do
take it from a
here,
bunch of different
well,
perspectives.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I mean,
So there are
the
quite a few
best one
players
I
we
ever
can choose from.
saw in person here wasn't from here. He was from Somerville, but it was AJ Green. He
Well, yeah,
was
okay. Yeah.
Yep, right. That's a great choice.
otherworldly.
Yep. Had a
Otherworldly.
fantastic career in the NFL. Yep.
But if we're
I
talking in
mean,
our area specifically, like our, Beaufort, Jasper, Hampton,
yeah.
Colleton, that area of the Low Country.
Now the
Yeah.
most athletic guy that I ever saw, and you could argue that he's actually maybe the most the best athlete who came out in the last 20 years would be Devin Taylor out of Beaufort, who
Yep.
played in
Yeah.
the NFL for a number of years.
Yep.
And the first time I ever saw him was not on a football field. It was high jumping. And I was like,
Yeah, that's
oh
right.
my God.
That's
That
right.
guy just
Forgot
high
about that.
jumped higher than some of these kids are pole vaulting over here. Like that was unbelievable. And he did it so gracefully and with such ease that I was just like, who is that dude? And they were like, oh, that's
Yeah.
Devin Taylor. And he was like a sophomore, just a twig. And he filled out into an NFL defensive end and a pretty damn good one for a good while. So, I think you'd put him right up there with Parker. As kind of the two most successful. Ryle Owens is certainly in the conversation.
Yeah.
He's one of the highest level
sure.
hoopers we've had in a number of
Right,
years. Puna Ford has got to be in the
Yep.
conversation.
Yeah,
You
I
have
was
to put
about
him
to
in there.
mention Boone. Yeah.
He's leading the NFL in interceptions until
Yeah.
tomorrow night at least.
Yeah.
I think for me and my short time of being I've lived here for over 20 years now, but I think in my time being fully integrated into this area and in the sports here, I think for me, it's probably Puna Ford for me. If it's not Puna Ford, it's ooh,
D. Delaney's got to be in the
yeah,
conversation.
Delaney,
For
yeah,
sure.
I think D
Yeah.
would agree that Parker ascended to a higher station than he has to this point, and I think he would say Parker's still the guy. But
Yeah,
he's in the
Puna has to be
conversation.
top, but
I hope
And
would
Jalen
be with-
Snead gets up to that list.
Jalen
he's on a good
Snead
track.
is
He's on a good track.
certainly. So here's the other thing. I guess, are we talking about like the end point,
Success?
or are we talking about when they were in high school? Because that kind
Right.
of
See
changes.
that's exactly what I was saying. Like,
Like, who was the
do you
greatest athlete
consider
when we saw them in high school? AJ Green
Yeah.
for me, but in this area, Pringle was pretty dang impressive.
Yeah.
Who else?
I think for me, Jalen Snead was the most impressive athlete
Yeah.
I've ever seen in person.
But here's the thing, like, Jamie and Risher might have been more impressive that year.
That's true.
Like,
That's
when
very true.
just by the eye
That's
test,
very true.
they
Yeah.
were the same dude, and I think Jamie might have
Yeah.
been a little bit better.
Yeah,
And
Jamie,
if you're talking
Jamie
about
ain't done yet
Risher,
either.
I got
Well,
to throw the name Zion Dobson from what he did last year. Like it's recency bias, but I mean he's on that levels in terms of like I
Ahmad
talked
Green
about
was ridiculous to
Ahmad
watch on
Green
the
was
football field.
yeah.
But then
The
you
only other
get into
person
the
I can
question
think of
of
with-
what about the
Yeah.
three sport athletes, or like
Yeah.
who's the best multi-sport athlete? I'd be hard pressed to find a better three-sport athlete really than Colton Ferris, who, was
Yep.
unbelievable on the football field,
Yeah.
an unbelievable state champion wrestler, and was, until he gave up soccer, part of a soccer team that played for state championship and was a key player on that team. That kid was one of the best all-around athletes I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
I'm sure there were some golfers, some tennis players that we missed in there, some swimmers. Like
Yeah.
there's a wide
Oh, we
variety.
could name some golfers
Oh,
from
God,
the area.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Nimmer.
I mean, Bryson Nimmer.
Yeah.
Bryson
Bryson
Nimmer's
Nimmer.
done pretty well for himself,
Yep.
and some others as well.
Jonathan Grizz as well.
Tennis players. I mean, how do you define from the area
Who am I?
too?
I'm
Like,
thinking
Yeah.
of
did
someone.
they move here to train for their
Yeah.
sport, or were they
Yeah,
born
so that's
here?
kind of did they go to it kind of it like I said, it's a very loaded question. I appreciate but
Yeah. But it's great for
It's always
podcast
it's fun to
discussion.
remember some
Remembering
guys,
some
remember dudes.
guys.
Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
girls? Who's the best female athlete out of the area? That's
Ooh.
another question. In the last 20 years,
Last 20 years.
that is a really hard one. It's probably going to be like Kamani Jenkins from Whale Branch or something that's in my blind spot a little bit. But I know
A lot
there
of
were
good
some.
female soccer players from around Hilton Head, some tennis players. So
That's true. There have been some really. Mackenzie Vance, the soccer player from Bluffton who played at UCLA, and
yeah.
and now is at BYU, I believe, as a grad transfer. And she's been like, I think she may have caps even. So she's definitely up there. I'd forgotten about her because she only played like a year of high school soccer. Courtney Campbell's really good, but I don't think she's quite in that conversation yet. But she's really good. Brielle McCarthy was really fun. But man, I'm trying to think. Sequoia Hayward was pretty impressive in multiple sports. There's been a bunch, though. There's been a bunch. I'd have to dig into that a little bit more. I'd have to think about that a little bit more and pick my brain.
Right,
There have been some.
that's kind of one you prepare for a day in advance and then you do it on the podcast.
Yeah, the guys I can do off the cuff pretty
Yeah.
easily, but the girls, I have to think a little bit
Right.
harder.
No,
Wow.
I like I said, they're guys that stand out. They're players that stand out, but just I feel like there's a lot more just under the radar.
Just
that you haven't-
haven't been as many girls who have gone on to like play at like the high D1 level
Right.
or play professionally because there's not as much opportunity.
I
So
remember,
it's just a little bit
O'Grady-
harder to
Addie
measure.
O'Grady a couple years ago, Hilton Head
Yeah.
volleyball. But
She's
like
still
I
at
said,
Stetson.
uh,
Abby Peduzzi
yeah, in terms
is
of
one of the
multi-sport.
best multi-sport athlete females I've ever seen. She's an animal. And
Yeah.
she's killing it. D2 volleyball. So yeah, I'd have to. Layla Warren was pretty phenomenal on the basketball court and on the track.
Yep.
Goodness, there's some players I'm trying
there's a
to
lot.
think of here because there are some.
Sarah Manasotis.
Yeah.
Sarah Manasotis cross country, basketball, and soccer. She was pretty great. Alexandra Fuller at Hilton Head Prep, basketball and soccer was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Carly Ledbetter volleyball.
Yep.
Ooh. Heaven Harvey volleyball at Bluffton was unbelievable. Yeah, there's been a whole bunch. Great question, Cuphead TV. We appreciate you giving us something to talk about tonight, as if we didn't have other things to talk about. But I was going to shout out my Hardyville girls. They got the dub last night. The Canes got the dub, first dub. They were 0-3, I believe, going into this one. Shanti was on fire with the serve. Playing Royal Live Oaks, saw our old friend Ramon Gray. He's the AD over there now, former basketball coach at Hampton County. He's moved into his AD phase of his life. There's my girl Talea Cunningham, number 7, future college volleyball player. You heard it here first. I'm going to find her a place. Loves the sport. I'm watching this Texas-Houston game because Texas is her favorite team and Moni's favorite team. So I got to support them. But yeah, they got a dub, and it was awesome. They were walking on clouds this morning when they got to school. So big one tomorrow night. Before the football game at the Ville, we got Ridgeland versus Hardyville volleyball. So it's going to be
we got a lot of
big
volleyball
night.
actually tomorrow.
We do.
Not just Richmond, Hardyville, but we have some We have some Region 6-4A matches as well to start off that, including
some good ones.
If I pull it up here, Hilton Head at Bishop England.
Yep.
May River, Carlton, Bluffton, Beaufort. So a couple interesting ones on the docket for volleyball.
Yeah, we're getting into some big games on the volleyball court, so we'll be
checking
in on that. And if you're a big volleyball fan and a big Lowco Sports fan, and you want to help us out, let's hear from you. Get us a little footage to share on the show. Come on and give us a report if you're going to be at the game anyway. Let the people know what's going on in the volleyball gyms. We're spread a little thin. We got a lot of stuff going on. We try to get everywhere we can, but we definitely need some more eyes and ears, especially you students who think you might want a future in sports media. We'd love to hear from you and get you out there helping us cover those volleyball teams better. But our MVP sponsors, we've got a new MVP sponsor. Let me pull up their website real quick so we can show you. We've got a new apparel partner, MVP sponsor, Base Hit Life, with baseball and softball apparel. All kinds of cool stuff. Got some limited editions right now with some Halloween styles. So check out basehitlife.com. There we go. Bat to the bone. I want that one. That one's cool. But that's our new sponsor, Base Hit Life. So check them out. We've also got homegrown home inspections. If you're buying a new home and you want to have it checked out, make sure it's good to go. Call on Jan Lucas and the team from Homegrown Home Inspections. If you're building a new home, you got to have the phased inspection where they'll check on it every step of the way with Homegrown. Hospice Care of the Low Country is providing hospice care, palliative care, and free grief counseling, plus much more for Hospice Care of the Low Country, where it's not about dying, it's about living. And with that, fellas, I say we shift gears and we go Lowco Pigskin Preview. What do you say?
Sounds good to me.
Should we play the music real quick? Just had to get a little taste of it, just for fun. Let's go Lowco Pigskin Preview mode. We'll switch over the thing and everything. We got 4 games on the slate on Thursday. We'll save the rest of the previews for tomorrow night, but we'll get into these ones. Starting with Brooklyn Casey at May River. I believe, Max, you're going to go get a look at the Sharks. Brooklyn Casey is 0-2, which is a little bit of a surprise because that's a really quality program and one of those that you don't entirely expect to be 0-3. But May River is 3-0, rolling along. They're bought into a particular style of football right now that has been very effective.
It's one of those don't let the records kind of fool you types of games, but still, I think it's going to be an evenly matched game. I think that May River has the edge being at home and with the running game that we're seeing. But at the same time, you cannot count out a squad like Brooklyn Casey will be desperate looking for that first win. And so I think this game means a lot to both these teams. May River, you'd love to stay unbeaten. But if you're Brooklyn Casey, you really want to find a way to get off the schneid and get that first win. It would be a quality win against a good team. So I'm expecting a tremendous game, and it should be a live crowd. I hope it'll be a live crowd out there tomorrow night at the Shark Tank.
I would expect so. And, I mean, here's the thing about Brooklyn Casey. They're 0-2, but they've played 2 quality 5A schools.
Yeah, River Bluff and White Knoll. I mean, that's
and they've gotten it handed to them in both games. Oh, Marcus is going to go over to May River. All right. Yes, 7-point game. He's got it as. I think so. I mean, I think it's a pretty tight game. It's a quality program. Brooklyn Casey and Hampton went toe-to-toe last year in a dogfight. I think that's going to be a tough game. I think that's going to be a team that physically can match up to May River fairly well on the line of scrimmage. That's kind of where they win and lose it. So I expect it to be a fight. I think turnovers are going to play a factor. Whoever can take advantage of a turnover here and there is going to have a big edge. May River, by the way, up to number 6 in the Class 4A poll this week.
That's right.
Making noise and deservedly so. I mean, they wanted to be there. Hilton Head getting votes as well.
Yeah, the wins do the talking sometimes, especially when you go on a run and you're putting up dominant victories like we saw Hilton Head. That'll get you some votes sometimes. But in terms of May River, certainly deserving a spot in the top 10. And now is kind of a target on your back. These other teams see those polls. They know you're a quality team if you're up there. So Now you guys prove it. You got to prove it against good teams that can knock you off. So it's a big statement game for May River at home. Certainly the expectations have heightened now for the fans in this program, just about where the season could go.
No question about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I think they're playing with a lot of confidence.
I'm really liking how this May River team is playing, and I'm excited to see them for the first time this season, at least for me. And I'm excited to see how they do because, they've already kind of been battle tested. They went up to West Ashley and, they won, and that, that shocked us all. And we were like, okay, this May River team is much better than we expected. They went on the road to a team that absolutely destroyed them last year and, fought hard in the trenches and got the win. So, they're battle tested coming into this game. But on the other hand, Brooklyn Casey, after, starting off the season 0-2 against two extremely tough opponents, especially White Knoll, you expect Brooklyn Casey to come in with a little bit of anger, looking for that first win. So May River's got to play very carefully with Brooklyn Casey because you make one mistake and it could go the wrong way for you. But I like this May River team, and I think they win this game. But I agree. I think it's an evenly matched game. I think Brooklyn Casey's going to give it everything they have. They want this win. They probably need this win. So I even with that, I still think May River wins this game, but I would make it close. I agree with Marcus. A 7-point game.
Sharks by less than Sharks by a possession or less. I guess you'd say at this point. But I think May River does the bread and butter that we've seen in terms of keeping that run game going and using the blocking behind those or in front of those backs to really carry the offense. Although it's going to come down to whether or not they can maintain control of the ball and avoid turnovers. I mean, you have to execute and avoid those costly errors that can change the outcome of these games. And against a good team, you don't have any much margin for error. So if you execute the way that we've seen, I think May River has a solid chance of getting this done at home, but it's certainly easier said than done against like I said, a Brooklyn Case team that's going to come in playing some desperate football because they know how much that first win would mean for them. But I'm excited for you to see that. I think I'll be at one of the other games this week we'll get to. But yeah, that should be a tremendous atmosphere and an even better game over there at the Shark Tank. And great to see that program on the up and up because I knew Coach Bonneville, Richard Bonneville, would do a fantastic job. I like just from the first the first spring game I saw a year ago, and the accountability that he instilled in those kids and the work ethic that we saw those kids. Yeah, it didn't play out to its fruition that first year, but now Tanner Macy and these guys are really starting to grasp the idea of what it means to really be a solid football program week in, week out. And sometimes you can take your lumps, and this is a team that has excelled and has found a way to put up some quality performances early on in the season against some solid opponents. That West Ashley game really sticks out because that's a team that they have struggled with in the past. So to get overcome that hurdle to beat a team like West Ashley and have that confidence so early in the season, that can do wonders for a team like that. And now you get really a big chance to prove it at home against a perennial powerhouse that always seems to go deep into the playoffs. So this is an enormous opportunity for the Sharks to really stake their claim as we are going to be right here in this region. And if you come over to the Shark Tank or if we come over here to your place, expect a fight. And I think the Sharks are going to show something.
I've been impressed. And here's the thing that's crazy to me is Tanner Macy has thrown 8 passes and rushed 22 times, which is the 4th most on the team at this point in the season. They're gonna let him loose at some point. They're keeping him fresh, but when it gets to region play, they're gonna turn him loose. And if these running backs continue to have success, they're gonna key on those guys, and he's gonna be able to pull it a little bit more and take it himself. And he's lethal. So
you mentioned I mean, the last couple seasons, it's really been Tanner Macy trying to put this team on his back, but now you have weapons on the offensive side of the ball to where he doesn't have to carry the team on his back. He has other guys who will help carry that team with him. So I think that's the huge difference I see this year in that May River team, and I can't wait to see see that in person. So
Yeah.
I really like how this May River team is doing. And I think they've kind of shocked everyone. We all expected them to be, one of those teams to maybe upset here and there, some of the teams in this region, but the tables have turned at the moment. The tables have turned, and I really think May River right now is the best looking team in this region.
Up to now, I think so. Real quick, and we'll get into it more tomorrow night because Buford doesn't play tomorrow. But I did I texted with Libern some, and they're pretty banged up. They were down 6 starters at one point.
Yeah.
We noted that like the guys scoring the touchdowns when they were trying to come back the other night were guys that weren't really on our radar. Backup quarterback and receiver that wasn't really on our radar. So, I think Buford, if they can get healthy by then, is still right there. I think they can match the physicality up front that not everybody can with May River, and I think that coaching staff can scheme something up to limit that offense more than most can. So, I'm not counting Buford out of this thing at all. None of their injuries are severe. Like
Right.
Amari was
Which is a good
injured and
thing.
he'll be out for a little bit. Samari is touch and go for this week, and then it should be good after that. So it's not like long-term stuff, and they should get guys back, but it just all came at once. And they were just
Yeah.
kind of, and early in the season where you haven't had a chance to develop some of those guys enough to be ready to be next man up, and they had a tough schedule. So it's been a perfect storm there, and I think they'll be okay. But I do think May River, you're right. To this point, at this point, they look like the most complete team, most consistent team in that region. And we'll see if they can continue it tomorrow night. Wes, did you take the Sharks?
Yeah, I think I said May
Yeah.
River by less than possession. Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I think that's where I am too. I like May River, but it will be a good test for them, and we'll find out a little more about them. All right. Well, also I'll be at the Ville for a little volleyball action, and then a doubleheader with some football. Seahawks coming to the Ville.
Talk about another overachieving, and as a Seahawks fan, as an alum, I did not expect to start. I knew they would.
I'm gonna have to go back to whenever I said don't sleep on Hilton Head this year either. The first time, that was a while ago.
You said it.
Well, yeah, I kind of agreed, but I've seen years where they looked solid on paper and then it just has not come together. You've seen it the last few seasons, whether it's injuries or whether it's just just things that have not. The offense had struggles last year. I think things are really starting to correct themselves this season, and the defense has really taken the next step. And now you see a team that has bought in together under BJ Payne and has used some of its part. As similar to what I've said about some other squads around the Lowco this fall, is that this is a team that doesn't have the flashy guys. They have a great running back in Troy Timko, and they have some hardworking players up front who are going to do their job, and they're going to play tough defense. They're going to. I mean, you can't lose if you don't let the other team score. Obviously, it seems like they've done that twice with a pair of shutouts. I mean, if your other team can't score, they're not going to beat you. And I know that's a very
it's
vague. Yeah, it's facts. It's factual. And this team is playing
a little Yogi Berra-ish.
Or John Madden. Yeah, I was thinking more John Madden, but in a similar perspective. But they exceed my expectations for sure, and they're a hard-nosed group to play against. I love the way BJ Payne develops. He said we've always talked about the great job he's done developing individual players for the college level, but I think he's really excelling this year of how he has built this team and this defense to really find the guys who are doing the roles that they need to be accomplished. And I have yet to see him in person. That will change soon because they're going to be playing some important region games. But I'm sold by the way they performed, especially the shutout win over Aiken. I thought they would beat them, but to play defense the way they have done, put it all together for a 4-quarter game has really impressed me. And even in the loss against James, I was impressed by the way they composed themselves and the way they kept it somewhat respectable, 24-0. The defense play, and maybe that there's offensive struggles against a good James Allen defensive part to do that, but so far Hilton is looking like the part of a dark horse team in this region. I
Yeah,
don't
that
think
was
they're
also Walter's first start,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the second start went really well.
Yeah.
So I think they look pretty strong.
Yeah.
I've had multiple people tell me, man, their linebackers play downhill. They're
Yeah.
tough. I think the secondary is a little bit suspect. I think if there's a weakness, that is it. But the couple of opponents that they've shut out have not been able to exploit that. James Island was able to a little bit. I'm not sure that Hardyville is going to be able to. We haven't had a much of a downfield passing game up to this point. Our the guy who would be our quarterback or was expected to be had shoulder surgery and he's out. So Emiliano's doing a good job, but he's not that guy he's sophomore. He's not quite ready to take shots downfield, and he's not getting enough protection really to be able to do that much either.
Right.
But we've got some electric athletes on offense. Certainly, Kamari Brown can make some things happen when he gets the ball in his hands. If he gets into the secondary, it's going to be a problem for him. Lewis Bullock is lightning fast out of the backfield. So I think if Hardyville's offensive line holds its own early and they can have a little success and get a little confidence, I think they can hang in this game. I don't think that they'll have the horses to finish it off. So I'll take Hilton Head. Probably ends up like 3 touchdowns, but I think it's competitive for a period at least, because I think our kids are ready for the challenge this week. They understand they're up against it. It's a big time opponent, but I've reminded them every day, like, it's opportunity to prove yourself, against a team that people know their names, like, go prove it, go outplay your guy, like that's the challenge. So we'll see.
I agree with you, Wes. I believe Hilton Head is a dark horse team, and I think that game against Aiken showed and kind of proved that point that they are probably that that party pooper team in the region. Let's put it that way.
They can play spoiler against anyone.
The one thing that
I don't
concerns me, but is not a concern yet because it just hasn't happened, is Hilton Head's lack of depth on the team. They are short.
Right. They're an injury away, a key injury away from really taking a step the other way.
Even like Zarnecki plays a good bit on both sides.
Other than that, I think this team is really strong. They're gonna scare you if you don't play them the right way. Right. They will scare the living daylights out of you.
And they are not afraid to beat you ugly.
Nope.
I agree with you, Wes, on Hardyville. I think they got some players on their team. I think they can hold up for a period, but I just don't. I don't see a way for them to be able to keep it up for 4 quarters against Hilton Head. I got to take Hilton Head here. I'll agree with you. I take them by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. I might take them by more than that. No hard feelings against Hardyville. I just think the Hilton Head team is very good.
That's totally fine.
Yeah. I think it could be worse than that.
To be honest.
Yeah, it could be worse than that. I'm hoping it's 21-14 at halftime, and they put a couple more up after halftime, and we don't get any, and
it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me because Hardyville's. There's been a couple games this season that Hardyville's.
They're going to scrap. They're going to scrap. They're going to fight. They're up for the challenge to fight. But I think
I'm pretty excited for that Hardyville Richland game when it comes around.
It's going to be good, and that's the first region game too, and it's huge. It's huge on the 27th. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So we're all on the Seahawks. I'll have to answer for that tomorrow at school. Hilton Prep at Bethesda. Bethesda's such an odd team this year. They got their win last week, 12-3 over JP2. It wasn't super impressive. Everybody notes how hard they fight to the end. They got some dudes. There was a dude who did that 90-yard run that was impressive against JP2. But it feels like a winnable game for Hilton Head Prep. We obviously haven't seen them since the big win. They've had 2 weeks off. They've been back to the drawing board. I liked the progress they showed from last year to this year, and then the progress they showed from first game to the second game. I think this 2 weeks is going to be really beneficial. I'm going with the Dolphins on the road, baby.
This is a very tough one to pick.
It is.
In the sense that this is a Hilton Head Prep team that hasn't played in 2 weeks. How do you
We've
judge?
seen so little of them.
Yeah, how do you judge? I mean, they played fairly well against Buford Academy, but they lost that one. And then they got the win over St. Andrews in a tight game. And now they haven't played for 2 weeks. So I mean, they'll be rested, but how ready will they be to play against a Bethesda team that has been disappointing this year, but I still think they have some talent. So it's a very difficult matchup to judge. I'm impressed with the Hilton Head Prep has done. That was a huge first. It's a win that can really boost confidence in your program, especially for a team that has had a couple winless seasons, and now they get off tonight. They get that huge win. So you have to say
Marcus
that
Walsh is with me. He's with me. He's drinking the Doug McFadden Kool-Aid.
And I like Coach McFadden a lot. He is a tremendous coach. I think it's a great hire for that program, and I think the Hilton Head Prep has a great chance in this game. Bethesda Academy, they 12-3 over JP2 doesn't inspire me much.
Right.
They lost, although they only lost by 9 against Thomas Hayward. They got
That was a weird
handily
game.
by Hilton Head Christian Academy. I think this game could go either way. You know what? I'm going to take the Dolphins. I'm going to take Hilton Head Prep. I believe. I believe now. I believe in this team. I believe in Coach McFadden, and I just think getting that first win changes everything. Now, I will say that they could come out and they could lay disappointment. First game in 2 weeks, but I think.
Yeah, but I like them playing the first
but,
game in 13 days more than the second one in 8.
Yes, and
7.
And just after that win, or just like I said, that win changes everything. After that win, it just makes the formula completely change. And now you have 2 weeks to really. It's kind of really starting the season over again, but more
There you go.
in a
That's
more
all I
exciting
needed
fashion.
to hear.
Yeah.
Tyler Britchke says they're ready. We've had a great couple of weeks. It should be a great game.
I got the Dolphins.
Convinced.
I got the
I'm
Dolphins.
Convinced. Maxie,
let's go.
Is it unanimous?
I think looking at this game, yes, Prep's coming off 2 weeks. Bethesda, I don't think they were happy with how that game went last Friday against JP2. I don't think anyone would be happy.
They got a real good running back.
No matter what. Yeah, no matter what.
But they got a freshman quarterback.
Yeah. Oh.
You got some big dudes up front. I know that, but that Prep defensive line coming. Excuse me. There's always 3.
Jeez.
It's always 3 with me.
Damn it! I'm going against my better judgment here. I'll go with the Dolphins here. I'll take them.
Ooh.
I think make it close though. I think Bethesda's going to be a little
close.
bit.
It is
angry going into this
I think
game
it's
I don't think they were happy with how they played against JP2. I think Bethesda was thinking in that game, we should have knocked the living, heck
I think Bethesda might be a little beat down. I think they might be a little.
I think sometimes the rest
said,
and
I think with that being said, I'm going to take the Dolphins. They're healthy. They've come out 2 weeks of rest. They've been working hard for the last 2 weeks to get ready for their next game. I think they'll come in more prepared than Bethesda. I think Bethesda will keep the game close, but ultimately, I think Prep could be could win this game. I don't think it'll be easy, but I think they can win this game. So I'll take Prep, but make it like a 3-point game because I think it could.
I want to know how many hours, Tyler, y'all spent in the film room watching Bethesda the last 2 weeks? Because you probably had a good bit of time. I mean, they played all local teams up to now, so I'm sure you've seen some film on them.
3 games worth of
probably even seen them in person a time or two, maybe. So that could be interesting. But yeah, I like Prep. I do. I feel good vibes over there. And I just think Bethesda at this point is kind of trying to learn how to win, just like Prep is. So I like them in a close game.
Yeah.
And then finally, we got Woodland at Whale Branch. Max, Wes, it sounds like you're going to try to make that trip. I think Tim Alonso is also going to try to make that trip. But yeah, he went to the Christian Academy game, see the Bethesda, and have a good bit of hours and a good game plan. Yeah, I like it. I like Prep. They got a program building over there. But Woodland at Whale Branch, really interesting 2A matchup. Someone who will remain nameless told me that it would be Woodland by 15 plus, but I'm not entirely convinced of that.
No.
I'm not totally sold on Whale Branch's offense right now. They're still trying to figure some things out. I like Bowers a lot.
Yeah.
I like Bowers a lot. Obviously, I mean, they got tough runners, Alonzo and Harris, but like they only scored 2 offensive touchdowns last week against Ridgeland. It was 3 scores on special teams.
Yeah.
It was a very
And
weird
so
you miss having a guy like KJ Chisholm who can kind of do so much for your offense. You have Bowers who is still evolving and growing. You're going to put Alonzo out on both ways because he's that athlete, he's that star. You got to play him on offense and defense. But it's going to come down. Can you block? Can you make the big plays in the line? Can you avoid turnovers? And can you get off to a good start early at home and make Woodland kind of doubt themselves a little bit playing away from home? I think this is going to be a great game. I think Whale Branch has to rely on their defense, force some turnovers of their own, get short fields, and let the offense find ways to punch in and get some scores. But it's very, very tight in terms of the outcome of this game. Woodland has always been a very, very good, at least recently been a good team. They had that shutout loss on that Hampton County game. I just remember from the last time I saw them a year ago.
Yeah, they
that
got
was
run off the field in that one.
Yeah, but that was a great Hampton County team. I think these two teams are on a very similar level, and I think it comes down to the last few minutes. I'll take the Warriors at home. I think they're due for. I mean, take the first game aside. The one they won against Bluffton, so that's all you can say. They did not get off the bus as we like to say sometimes for that game. Bluffton showed something to them, and maybe it's a benefit for them losing 57-0 in that first game because they come back and they run through the Hardyville Ridgeland part of their schedule. They shut out Hardyville and then they beat Ridgeland by a couple of scores. So Woodland will be they'll be probably the toughest. Yeah, they'll be the toughest opponent they've seen since Bluffton. In my opinion, I think Woodland's a bit better, but I think being at home, I kind of think that they're rolling right now, and I kind of think the confidence is really gelling with this group. But I do agree with you. I want to see more from the offense. I want to see good blocking up front to really kickstart that offensive success. So. I think if you can get good play from on lines both ways, offensively and on defense, I can't wait to see Alonzo Allen, see that kid again. He is fun to watch and really enjoy interviewing him. But don't sleep on that secondary for Whale Branch. We've talked about them before. They still have some guys who can make plays, blow plays up, and pick off passes. And so I like the way the defense has been playing this year a lot. Now, can the offense step up? That's going to be the question. But I think it should be a great game. I think this could be a huge early win for Whale Branch. I know it's not region play yet, but this could be a big step in the right direction if they get this win.
You got them? You taking the Warriors? You got them?
I got the Warriors at home.
All right.
I got the Warriors.
What do you got, Max? You saw them last week.
Yeah. My biggest concern with Whale Branch is their running game, and it really did not show at all in that first half. It was a very weird first half, but nonetheless.
They didn't. They weren't on offense for hardly at all in the first half.
But when they were on offense, that running game was not working against Ridgeland. You should be able to run the ball.
Now I'll tell you, Ridgeland's defense is pretty
defense is good, and they showed me that. But I think Whale Branch needs to improve on the running game because by the second half, the running game started to work for them. But that first half, I was expecting a little bit more out of the running game for Whale Branch. I know Ridgeland's defense, and it showed. Ridgeland's defense is not someone to mess with, but I just I'm a bit hesitant with Whale Branch's offense right now, and I think some other people are as well. I
Yeah.
oh, Woodland's not a team to mess with. I think when you come to this game, I know they'll be at Whale Branch. That atmosphere will be something special. It's a Thursday night game. We'll see how the crowds turn out for that game. I'm iffy on Whale Branch, but I'm gonna take him. But I think it could be a close game. I think Woodland will make this a fight, and I think it'll be a 1 to 2 possession game for me.
It has the
I
makings of
think
a
it's a
possible low scoring game with how well both
yeah,
especially how good Whale Branch's defense is, and then
yeah.
obviously Woodland played. They've only played Colleton. They allowed 14 to
Mhm.
Colleton, so
Yeah, and that game was competitive at halftime
yeah,
or going to the
yeah.
fourth quarter, and
They
then they
shut out
pulled
Bethune
away.
Bowman.
They killed
Yeah,
Bethune-Bowman, but Bethune-Bowman's
yeah.
pretty weak.
I think it's pretty
Um,
evenly matched. I
I do
think
too.
Whale Branch gets it
I
done.
think it's a one possession game, and I don't know who Woodland's kicker is, but I know that Whale Branch's kicker is Brian Yaramillo Ruiz, and he's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take Brian Yaramillo Ruiz with a game-winning field goal for the
Heck
Warriors at
yeah,
home.
heck yeah,
Walk it off, win over Woodland. That's my bold prediction for Thursday night football in the Loco. So,
yeah,
if that comes to pass, either you or Tim Alonso will be trying to get enough of a signal to show us live footage of the winning
yeah, and
kick. So,
and hopefully we can talk to him afterwards too.
yeah, absolutely. But no, I would love to see that come to pass. But they do have a
Yeah,
solid kicker, which is not always a given at that level,
right.
and it could be the difference
Yeah,
in what I think is a
yeah.
really evenly
That's huge.
matched game.
Special
I
teams.
think as far as their offense, I think Bowers is doing
Javion
a heck of a
Harris
job.
has looked to. Javion Harris
Harris
looks
is
solid. He's
solid.
the
I
only guy in the
think
two
Bowers
carries.
is
He's been
doing
really
a good
efficient.
job, and I think Bowers is still kind of learning when to pull it and when to
Yeah,
leave it. And
Yeah.
I think he'll his instincts with that will get better as the season goes along. But he looks really good running the ball, and he can wing it too. And Dayon Brown can expose somebody. You saw the Jet Kelly, Jonathan
oh,
Kelly
yeah,
take off on that kickoff return. You can guarantee you he's going to be getting some looks on some bubble screens and stuff like that, little slants, and just try to get him in space. So I think they'll get a little more creative with the offense. I think they've probably been pretty vanilla, not trying to show too much on film. I don't know when that comes, probably more in region than this week, but
mm,
you might start to see some more wrinkles. But the defense, that dog hunts. So
yeah.
I'll take Whale Branch on the game winning field goal. So that's all the games lined up for Thursday. Tomorrow night, we'll go through the rest of the slate, which includes Goose Creek at Beaufort, Hampton County at Bluffton, Colleton County at Stall, Battery Creek at Bethune Bowman, Ridgeland at Manning, HHCA at John Paul II, Dorchester at Patrick Henry, Williamsburg at Thomas Hayward, Lee Academy at Beaufort Academy, Calhoun Academy at Colleton Prep, and Cross Schools at Holly Hill Academy. Man, that is a heck of a slate, y'all.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, two
11
really
or
good slates in
15
one.
dang games.
We
Whew.
got four on Thursday, 11 more on Friday.
Yeah, that's a heck of a
Yeah.
slate. So that'll be fun. So we owe some more sponsor reads. I'm way behind on those, so we'll just read them all at once here. Varsity sponsors: DDS Web Design, building, hosting, maintaining websites for businesses and nonprofits to get results. DDSHHI.com. Parker Law Group serves legal needs across Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper counties and helps us shine a light on deserving teams and student athletes out in that corner of the Loco. Dr. Ambrose Cole, our official chiropractor at Rooted Living Wellness in Bluffton, and he'll get you feeling right, mind, body, and spirit. Reverence Wrestling Club, our official wrestling sponsor. Take your skills on the mat to the next level at Reverence Wrestling Club. Gonna have wrestling in the Ville this year, baby. Can't wait.
Ooh.
Loco Booster Club supports us, so support them. Court Lifestyle Pros. They're Daniel and Debbie Court. They're with Charter One Realty, and they want to bring you home to Hilton Head Island. Eagle Creations has promotional items and custom apparel, including the Loco Swag Shop. Check them out for all your promotional needs. They're on Argent Boulevard. Jay's Barbershop is in downtown Ridgeland, and you can go in for great conversation and come out looking stylish, whether you need a haircut or not. Jay's Barbershop in downtown Ridgeland. Barefoot Floor Care, you call on them. Barefoot Floor Care of the Low Country. If you're got the dirty floors, they'll get them so clean your feet will thank you. Chris Odom is our guy over there. Hudson's Seafood House on the Docks. Great place to be on Hilton Head Island, and the presenting sponsor of Under the Bus. Those guys will be recording on Thursday at USCB, so be on the lookout Thursday night for a new episode of Under the Bus. And Hurricane Sports Cafe in Hampton, place to be for your bar food and your beverages. I love the Hurricanes burger, and the wings are great. They got all kinds of good stuff over there. Yes, indeed. It is a big weekend lined up. Also got USCB soccer on the horizon. So, all right, boys, any parting thoughts before we shove off for the night?
I want to mention a Palmetto State connection that I just came across tonight. Congratulations is in order to Asia Wilson, the basketball standout who just recently won gold at the Paris Olympics. She has now earned herself a huge milestone in the WNBA. She's the league's single-season scoring record leader, the former South Carolina Gamecock, with now 956 points this WNBA season. She had a chance to get to 1,000, which would be a huge milestone. But you talk about all the greats that have been through that league, Diana Taurasi, and so many others that have played in WNBA. Asia Wilson, who she was a superstar at the college level and has made herself even more known in the WNBA. And, I mean, born in South Carolina and went to Heathwood Hall. No, South Carolina raised product, and look at her now. She's now the single scoring record holder in the history of the WNBA, which is, and I mean, she is a legend, not just in South Carolina. She's probably a WNBA legend, women's basketball legend at this point. There's already a statue already made of her in the campus of University of South Carolina. I mean, the accolades go on and on. She is one of the greatest of all time, at least at this generation for sure. But I mean,
I think she's a basketball Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt.
No, but that's really cool. South Carolina grown talent. Went to USC, really put that program on the map under Don Staley, and now she is written herself in the history books. So that's amazing. Palmetto State legend.
Man. Yeah,
absolutely. You got anything, Max?
Yeah, I got a couple things. First one, I just want to say rest in peace to the man, the legend himself, James Earl Jones, who passed away. What a dude, man! What a voice.
Going to Minnesota to find Moonlight Graham.
What first came to me was a speech in Field of Dreams. Was the one that actually was the first thing that came in my mind. About baseball has marked the passage of time, and that was.
He's been in a couple. He's been in a couple Baseball movies. He was in the Sandlot.
He was a big baseball.
Dreams.
He was great in the Sandlot.
What a great.
Obviously, Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. Mufasa.
Yeah, Mufasa. I mean, the voice of our lives, right? Just an unreal actor too.
Yeah, and I'm glad he got to see. Lion King just celebrated their 30th anniversary of that movie, so I'm glad he was able to see that before he passed away.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to say rest in peace to him, and then the other thing, you're gonna hate me for this one, Wes. I saw the other day regarding the Carolina Panthers. I was watching the Pat McAfee show the other day, and they were talking about the Carolina Panthers. Just stop. Just hold on.
Garbage.
And apparently, I had to look this up. Apparently, they're selling tickets so cheap. You can get 2 tickets. Now, these are probably nosebleed seats, but you can actually get 2 tickets to a Carolina Panthers game, depending on who they play, for $1.80 for 2 tickets.
I mean, that's less than a McDonald's Happy Meal.
Yeah, I mean, that's unreal. That's less than a small order of fries.
Yeah,
like going back to the 1960s. Get a couple tickets for just under $2.
$1.89.
Just crazy.
Good Lord. You can't get a candy bar for that anymore.
No,
candy bars are $2.
You can spend more going so bad. They're playing so horrible that they have to sell tickets for less than $1 a ticket. I don't care if it's nosebleeds or not. That's just
Right.
Anyway,
pitiful.
Yeah,
I
that's
mention that
rock
because
bottom kind of stuff right there.
I was just
For
watching.
that.
I was just watching that show because I was bored and I had nothing better to do, and I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And they started talking about the Carolina Panthers, and he had mentioned that, and I was like, "That is the funniest thing." I have to look this up and make sure it's true, and it's actually true. They're actually
And
starting to
when a team has that level of just underwhelming success for a while, it just always begs the question: will this team stay long term there? That's the big.
Well, here's your hope. That's '08 Lions depressing, and the Lions are riding high right now. So maybe that's your glimmer of hope.
long way back from there. The Lions 2008, the Cleveland in 17. Nobody has gone 0-17. We'll see if that's because the 17 game schedule.
Nobody's had the opportunity.
Yeah, here's my thing. So they hired Dave Canales, and I always wondered why they chose to go with Dave Canales because, while he's considered an offensive guru, a quarterback guru, and everything, if you look at his record the last 2 seasons as an offensive coordinator, I believe he was with the Carolina Panthers as offensive coordinator. Then they hired him as the head coach, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think he turned around Baker Mayfield in Tampa, and then they
he did. That's right.
Yeah.
And so everybody was like high on Dave.
So he's
Canales.
got an MO. He's got a track record with short quarterbacks.
Right.
Yeah, he does.
So that was.
It was a smart
Mayfield
move.
Looks good, by the way. I
know it's only game 1, but you got to think like, what is the next step for the Carolina Panthers with this? Because losing a game like that, I know it was in New Orleans, and the Superdome is one of the worst places to play. I mean, and by worst, I mean like one of the toughest places.
In more ways than one.
That's a game where I thought they would be competitive in.
They don't play at the Superdome. Do they still? No, they raised the Superdome. They play at that other place named Mercedes-Benz.
Well, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium is also where the Atlanta Stadium is Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I don't know if it's still called those.
Oh yeah,
they call it.
that.
It's the Caesars Superdome.
Oh, it's the Caesars Superdome now. It used to be Mercedes-Benz.
It used to be Mercedes.
Yeah, but now Atlanta has the. But
Atlanta has
back to Carolina,
because we're better.
You certainly thought that this year, with what Canales has done, his track record from Tampa, you thought there was a little bit of optimism, but certainly that has not been the case, and you're really starting to doubt that Bryce Young has the future that the Panthers fans and the team expected from at this point. And adding insult to injury, Derek Brown, the starting defensive tackle, out for the season.
Yes.
So defense taking a big hit as well.
I'm
Wait,
worried
they still play in the Superdome? I thought they tore that place down, bro.
They
still play in the old Superdome?
Yeah, they do. Because they're
the one where they did all the atrocities in Katrina.
They're scheduled to host.
I swore they tore that thing down. They got to tear that thing down.
They're scheduled to host another Super Bowl.
I'm usually not for tearing down stadiums to build new ones, but that one, too many bad things happened there. That thing's got to go.
Yeah, dude. I just, the one thing I'm worried about with the Carolina Panthers is Bryce Young. I don't know what to expect out of him anymore because I was high on him coming into the league. I thought he'd
the problem is by the time they're any good, they're going to get him broken.
Yeah.
It's going to be like RG3 all over again.
That's the biggest problem for him. He's not the biggest dude, and he's got an offensive line that has not helped him whatsoever so far in his career. I know it's only been one season.
The protection has not been great, but I think that I'm not convinced that Young has the mold to develop into what they want him to be at that point. And when you get to a situation like this early in the year where everything's not going right, it is hard to really rebound as a quarterback and thrive in an environment like this.
Well,
so it's just a really tough situation. And all that aside, I still have much disdain for what David Tepper has done in the ownership. It's just been an absolute disaster. Everywhere, everyone involved in that organization, what Tepper has done, it just has not been up to the standards that we hoped it would be. And it's just, you look at the revolving door of what has happened throughout the last few years, like all the quarterbacks they picked up in terms of Bridgewater, then Mayfield, and it's just been a complete mess. And on top of that, the drafting has been somewhat. There are, I mean, and then the trade for Bryce Young, trading away DJ Moore and committing to that when and then you end up drafting a guy that certainly there are different factors of how well Young could do if he was, given an opportunity to a different team, but it's still a perplexing decision to me how the last few years have played out in terms of that franchise. It's been a complete mess, and it's just I don't know where it goes from here at this point.
Well, look on the bright side. Y'all will probably get the number 1 or number 2 pick this next draft.
The problem is, what do you do with it?
Right decision this time.
The problem is, what do you do with it? Do you hold on to it? Do you trade it?
That's the thing.
Do you try to trade Young like the Bears traded Fields, but he doesn't seem to have as much value or be as much of a commodity?
Yeah.
So I don't know what they would get for that.
Here's what I think. If Bryce
Did you draft a left tackle to protect him?
Right. Here's the thing. If Bryce Young continues to play the way he has after this first game, I know it's only game 1, and things can change, but if he keeps playing like this, I know he doesn't have the best of offensive lines. I know he's had struggles getting the ball out at a quick rate. But if he keeps playing the way that he is, I think they will trade him, and I think they will. If they end up getting the first or second pick, I think they'll draft a quarterback. But the question
I think they will too.
Yeah, I was just looking at
I mean, that's what this year is, right? This is Bryce Young evaluation season. Like,
I was just
is this going to work or not? And if it's not, we got to go get a quarterback. If it is, then we can trade that pick for a haul and try to rebuild quick. So you just got to make that decision, and you got to be right about that decision.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Cam Ward, you like Cam Ward?
Well, I'm not totally sold yet, but at this point, I like what he's doing over there in Miami, and certainly I saw him come up. So there's a long way to go. It's trending towards a potentially top 1 or 2 pick at this point for Carolina, depending on the rest of the season goes. But it's certainly always
going to be the Giants.
Yes, and actually,
there's
guess what?
Mock drafts.
And on top of that,
that's true.
The Carolina Panthers and New York Giants will be playing each other this season in Germany.
Oh my God, the poor Germans!
Can you imagine?
I mean, I guess at least it'll be the best football game the Germans see in person this year. So they won't really know the difference. They'll be like, I guess they just make a lot of turnovers in this league.
You know what the crazy part is? Those tickets won't be cheap either, which is really sad for 2 teams that are probably at the bottom of the NFL this year. I can't wait to see Daniel Jones make a fool out of himself in another country.
Why is there a mock draft that projects the Patriots to have
Giants,
the first pick?
I feel like I saw that the other day. I don't understand that.
And on top of what the Giants are doing, they could only help but cry in anger as I see Saquon Barkley scoring 3 touchdowns for Philadelphia.
Right. Yeah, Saquon's a dude while there.
That was the dumbest move I think the Giants have ever made in terms of the franchise's history, is deciding to franchise tag Saquon Barkley, who is clearly the more valuable player over Daniel Jones. Still the dumbest move I've ever seen out of the New York Giants.
When
I saw they put a franchise tag on him, and I was like, they're going to give a contract to Daniel Jones. Sure enough, they gave a contract to Daniel Jones. I'm like, that is the dumbest move you can make.
And they let Barkley
Just because he had one decent season doesn't mean he's going to have another one. And sure enough, he hasn't. So, I mentioned it on, what was it? It was I think it was on Monday. Well, it was either Monday or it was a day like within the last week or so that I said, like, one of my takeaways from, it was probably on Monday. One of my takeaways from the NFL was Daniel Jones is a fraud, and rightfully so, because he just has not proven that he's worth, a first. He's not a first round.
He's not a franchise quarterback.
He never was. He never will be worth a first round quarterback. So it's sad for the New York Giants fans because you want them to see New York Giants once again be able to compete. But
and they put so much effort in developing Daniel Jones. It just has not worked.
As long as Daniel Jones is quarterback, they will never get anywhere near the playoffs. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. And you've given away most.
You have a good young wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, who, has talent, but certainly the quarterback has not shown the signs that you want in terms of a guy that can run the NFL offense or NFL offense to the success that they wanted to. So that's another team that certainly has a lot of work to do. But yeah, that'll be a very interesting game indeed, overseas in Munich, Germany.
Marcus picked Daniel
Why,
Jones
Marcus?
last
Why would
year.
you do
Silly
that?
Marcus.
Marcus, my
He's
God,
trying to be
Marcus,
cute.
dude,
He's trying to be ahead of the curve.
Marcus, we need to talk
Never-
about draft strategies.
Our friend
man.
Curry Kirkpatrick would say, never put your faith in a rat. Anybody from Duke calls them the rats because
Yep.
of Krzyzewski, the rat. And then he calls them all baby
You're
rats.
mostly right. I think he's mostly right about that.
Curry is a
At least
big
recently.
Duke hater.
Rat Jr.
Biggest Duke hater I know. Rob Benson, a close second. But he's on the
worry,
He's
he'd
from the
probably-
Maryland
He'd
Duke hater
probably
clan.
He'd probably call Grayson Allen the Rat Jr. Honestly. Anyway,
He call who Rat Jr.?
Grayson Allen, man.
Oh yeah, well he calls
Yeah.
John Shire Rat Jr. now.
Does he?
So,
Oh, okay, fair enough.
yeah,
that's
baby rat. He calls him baby rat.
baby rat.
Yeah, because he learned from Papa Rat. But enough Duke bashing. I think we can call it a night, boys. Thanks to all of our sponsors, especially the OGs and our all-stars, Mickelson Law Firm, the original sponsors, still with us today. We appreciate you helping us keep it going here at Lowco Sports. We will be back again tomorrow night to do basically the same thing as tonight, except we'll talk about some football games that may be in progress as we're getting going. I may be doing the little Lowco Pigskin live thing here tomorrow night with you guys. So that should be fun. Hang out and see how it's going on the football games, and then we'll preview the rest of them as well and let you know what we think is going to happen on Lowco Friday night. So be sure to hang out with us tomorrow night, 9:30. Thanks again to everybody who showed up to listen or watch. We'll have Marcus Walsh joining us tomorrow night and letting us know what he thinks about all these games. So looking forward to that. And we'll see who else we can get to hop on with this. Should be a lot of fun. Folks who play on Friday night will probably be out and about on Thursday night. That's always fun. We get to see some people. Patrick Henry boys are bound to be somewhere. If you're out at Skis game, you're bound to run into them. So should be a good time. We'll see you tomorrow night for the Lowco Sports Lowdown / Lowco Pigskin Live mega show that we do on Thursday night. So that'll do it for tonight. Thanks again to everybody. Max Arraj, Wes Kerr. I'm Justin Jarrett. Till next time, go Lowco.
The Lowco Sports Lowdown podcast is a production of Lowco Media LLC and LowcoSports.com, an independent media outlet providing grassroots local sports coverage in the South Carolina. The Lowco Sports Lowdown podcast is a production of Lowco Media LLC and LowcoSports.com, an independent media outlet providing grassroots local sports coverage in the South Carolina Lowcountry. We are